Morning. Hope you all had a nice evening. At least said good morning. That's a lovely thing. Yeah, you know, as a joke about knowing whether you're in an undergraduate class or a graduate class, if you go to a graduate class and say, in an undergraduate class and say good morning, everybody says good morning. Go to a graduate class and say good morning, everybody writes it down. So, which is mostly true, I think. We have a written assignment for you to begin today. So the folks in the back of the hall are going to be passing out sheets of paper that ask you to read something very short, respond to it by circling one letter, and then passing it to the center aisles of the room, and we'll take them up. And then after you have time to do that, I'll talk about what we just did. So let's get those passed out, and we'll do this first. I'd just like to make, thank you. Before I sit down and turn it over to the next speaker, I'd just like to make one observation about the Monty Hall problem yesterday. There's one more back there. And that is how many people talk to me about this and how many people I eavesdrop on talking to one another about it. And one of the things that I'm hoping that everyone noticed about those conversations is how much there was an emotional content to your belief about the real result of the problem. And this is one of the things that I'd like to, and Scott too, that we'd like to illustrate over the next several etudes and what happens in our wrap-up today, is that ideas are not devoid of emotional attachments. I mean, I think all of us sort of know that, but I'm not sure we all really know that. And the reason I say that is I think we often try to persuade people to take action or refrain from taking action by providing information to them. And I was very taken with David Krakauer's talk yesterday about the relationship between algorithms and data. And having more data doesn't necessarily get you a more intelligent decision. But anyway, we'll talk about that later. I want to show you what you just did. This is a problem that was designed by Kahneman and Tversky. It was published in 1981, this problem. And what many of you probably know, but some of you probably don't know, is there were two different versions of the sheet that you just filled out. And those are the two different versions. So some of you got presentation 1, and some of you got presentation 2. Now, a couple things I'd like you to notice about those two presentations. The first one concerns saving people, and the second one concerns people who will die. But mathematically, the two situations are equivalent, right? Now, this is called a so-called framing effect. Now, of course, this is different from just what is called now push polling in politics. So this isn't the same as asking a question, you know, what year do you think Barack Obama relinquished his Kenyan citizenship? That's not that kind of question. But it's instead saying in a very different way, if you frame the question differently, you are apt to get different responses from individuals about their attitudes about the different situations. And what's remarkable about this, I'll show you the data that was published in 1981 about this, is that when people were presented with the first scenario, that 200 people will be saved with program A is adopted, 72% of the respondents chose program A. When they were presented with the decision that 400 people will die if program A is adopted, 78% chose program B. Now that's quite a stark contrast. But what's important about this, and the generalizable observation about this, is that when we're looking at positives, we tend to prefer certainty to risk. When we're looking at potential losses and negatives, we are more risk tolerant, and we pursue risk. Now, this is not a small thing when we're talking about healthcare, right? And this is at all dimensions of healthcare, not only individuals and their personal healthcare decisions, but doctors' decisions, and companies' decisions, and institutions' decisions, and governments' decisions, right? That we are human beings affected by this in ways that most of the time we're operating without awareness. And that's a problem. And that's not just a data problem. That's not more data solves this, right? There's an emotional thing, emotional component to this that has to be addressed if we're going to use this effectively. Anyway, that's the etude for this morning, and I'll turn it over now to Michelle.